inaugural Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities African Region Conference is ongoing in Nairobi, and it has representation of 5 countries in Africa, that is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Sierra Leone, as well as South Africa. Now, our reporter Kamche Menza is on standby with the report on that particular conference. Kamche, what is the latest?
Well, Kiptum, good afternoon. Back in studio, we are coming to you live from Serena Hotel, where the Commonwealth Parliamentarians Association is actually holding an inaugural conference to discuss on matters. This is the Commonwealth Parliamentarians Association on parliamentarians with disabilities. This is the first or the foremost meeting that they have convened here in Nairobi. But it's a meeting that has brought on board parliamentarians, like you said, from 5 countries, that is South Africa, Sierra Leone, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. The main agenda of the day is about mainstreaming disability considerations in legislative agenda in the 21st century. I'm joined by the chair of the Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disability, that is Honorable Danita Gatti, to actually tell us what has informed this particular meeting and actually the rationale behind this meeting. Karibu sana Mhesh. Maybe to start us off, like I said, your first question will be, what is the rationale of this particular meeting?
The rationale for this particular meeting is basically the fact that within our parliaments, in the Africa region and even globally, you realize that not many members of parliament are parliamentarians with disabilities. You know, that tells you something, that persons with disabilities hardly make it to parliament. You know, they are hardly elected, they are hardly, they're just voters. And therefore, in line again with Article 29 of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which of course Kenya is a signatory to, Kenya has ratified the convention. It is basically a convention that actually obligates state parties to actually make sure that persons with disabilities have rights in the political process. So Kenya has actually provided all these rights through the Constitution, through the Persons with Disabilities Act, through so many other, policies. And that's why we are in Parliament as members of Parliament with disabilities. And as the chair of the Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities Network, I felt through the CPA Africa region that we need to actually advance this discussion in Africa region. As you can see, we have delegates from 5 countries of Africa to come and help us chart a way forward. We want to map a way forward as Africans, because Africa is our business and disability is our business. And therefore, we want to basically discuss how do we increase the representation of persons with disabilities in parliaments, both as voters and both as candidates and both as members of parliament. So we want to basically converge in Nairobi, and I'm happy this is the first meeting in Africa region to be supported by the CPA. To discuss the way forward for persons with disability to get into parliament first, and then once we are also in parliament, how do we make it conducive for members of parliament to operate, to work with ease like any other member of parliament without a disability. So this meeting basically is to help us chart a way forward as MPs with disability in the Africa region of the Commonwealth. Okay. So because I'm in charge of the entire world, I'm in charge of 9 regions of the world. We have started in Africa, and Kenya has been chosen as the best country because of obviously over how fair we are as a country to persons with disabilities. We are here for 3 days, basically, looking at our strategic plan that we have developed, looking at, so many other challenges, looking at what we can do as a community of Africa to make sure that persons with disabilities are represented not only socially, but even politically.
All right.
Yeah.
There is one thing that you've mentioned about countries having ratified in the UN Convention. There are about 18 countries, and we understand there are few countries that do not have representation in the parliament, in their parliaments. For example, Mauritius, Eswatini. How do you, as an association, plan to go about this in your fight for representation in all the other parliaments?
Correct. We take note that out of even the member countries who are members of the Commonwealth, we have countries like Eswatini, as you say, that have no representation of members of parliament with disabilities, even in CPA. What we want to achieve as a Commonwealth clarion call is to ensure that persons with disabilities, countries actually ensure, that persons with disabilities make it to parliament. We want to lobby parliaments, or we want to lobby countries to look at their constitution, because all these issues issues are issues within the constitution. The countries must relook at their constitutions to ensure provisions for persons with disabilities to be elected or nominated. Affirmative action must actually be there in countries to ensure that persons with disabilities get themselves into parliament. And once they get into parliament, they also get into representation of the CPA. So once we are there, then we have a voice as members of parliament with disabilities to be able. So the policies that we're seeking to develop are policies that are going to enable us to push countries of the Commonwealth to ensure that they are fair to persons with disabilities getting themselves into parliament.
After having ratified the UN Convention.
Especially after having ratified the UN Convention, because most of our countries in the Commonwealth are countries that have ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We want to see now these countries domesticate this UN Convention into their policies and laws. So this conference is basically coming up with policies that we are going to actually not really push, but we are going to lobby. We are going to lobby. We know we cannot change the constitutions of countries, but we can use CPA to lobby and basically push our own agenda as members of parliament with disabilities, to also see other countries having representation as members of parliament with disabilities in Eswatini, for example, in Lesotho, for example, and many other countries. Yes.
And we understand that South Africa and Tanzania are leading actually in representation. South Africa has 8, also Tanzania has 8, Kenya we have seen have 7, so we are not doing badly so far.
We are not doing badly, and Uganda has 5. I mean, and our constitutions are the sure ways and tools to ensure that representation of persons with disabilities is there. And you can see again Kenya in our county assemblies. I mean, so many of our county assemblies have county assembly members who have disability, the two that are required by law. Every county in this country must have 2 members of county assembly with disability, a man and a woman. So we want to close the loopholes and ensure that those counties that do not have representation of persons with disabilities must have representation in the next election and beyond.
Well said, Mheshimiwa Danita Gati. Thank you. Brief but straight to the point. The message has been passed. Thank you so much, Betty Kiptum. Back to you in studio.